Life Transitions with your girl, Coach Latoya. Happy Saturday, y'all. It's a good day. Happy weekend, all of that. I hope you got some great plans for the weekend. I'm looking forward to something great. I want to start the show off out today by saying thank you. Thank you to all of the supporters of the show. I have gotten so many positive, messages from the past few shows. So thank y'all so much for listening, especially those that are listening every single week. I see you, I hear your comments. So I definitely want to say thank you. Thank you so much for listening in on Saturdays. So far we've touched on a lot of different things on the show. We talked about how I became a coach. We talked about just interviewing maybe and some of those shifts and transitions that you have to make and those mindset changes. We were able to hear from Destiny one show where she's talking about those mishaps in interviewing. And then we were also able to hear from Zenitra, and she shared with you some entrepreneurship transition. So going from that W-2 to entrepreneurship. And then also we heard from Jalen, who was a recent college graduate and talked about those early career challenges and that mindset transition as well. So we've given you a lot of things. I hope you're able to take away some nuggets. I hope you're able to take away something that you can implement in your everyday life or job or whatever you're trying to achieve. So thank you again for just listening in. But I have a very special guest here today. I'm super, super excited to jump into this conversation. So would you please help me welcome Mr. Joseph McNeil to Life Transitions Radio Show. Welcome, Joe.
Welcome. Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate you having me on your show.
All right. So, Joe, tell us, while you were in college, what were some of your career goals?
Yes, I mean, that's a great question, especially myself being a college athlete and playing Division I basketball, but also going after a great degree. I had a degree in business. And later on in life, and you'll hear it probably at some point in this conversation, but I got my master's. But my goal was at some point play basketball overseas, and if that didn't work out, get myself into the corporate structure.
Wow. Okay. Okay. And so as you hit on something there, talk about college athletes, right? And there's so many folks that are college athletes and they definitely want to, play and pursue on the next level. But I love how you said, hey, if that didn't work out, I was planning on, climbing this, getting into the corporate world. So when did you make that decision? When did that happen for you?
Man, I would say probably 8 to 9 months following my college career. And I was doing odd jobs back and forth, just trying to figure out what was going to be the best situation for me. I eventually went to a career fair and got some mentoring from one of my mentors of, here's a few places that I think would meet your skill set based on what you're doing. You don't have any, job experience, but I do think this could be the best opportunity for you. I had an opportunity to start working in banking, and that's kind of where, that entrepreneurship, but also the corporate structure started at the same time.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. Okay. So I love that you said career fair. I love career fairs. I tell people how important a career fair is and how it could change the trajectory of your future just by attending and networking and meeting people. So I love that. So let's talk about transitioning into this corporate world, right? So your first job out, was it banking? What was that first role? And how was that transition?
Yeah, so the first job I got, funny enough, when we talk about career fair, I actually snuck into a different university's career fair because I needed a job.
Hey, you got to
I'll
do what
be
you got
honest, I
to
went
do.
through probably 30 interviews before getting my first job. And I think around interview 15, I started to become very frustrated. And I was thinking, man, I have this degree. What, like, no one's really giving me the experience because they say I don't have any
Right.
experience. So I say, you know what? I'm going to go to another university, see if I can sneak into their career fair. hopefully they take that as a, you know, a load of confidence that I'm doing whatever it takes to get a job. And that's exactly what it did. Wells Fargo was there at the University of Florida when I snuck into the career fair and got my first job opportunity. I started off in banking, and I think from there it just kind of flourished on to what's going to be the next thing that can really work with my skill set, and then that transition into the healthcare space.
Wow, wow. Okay. So I got to back it up for a second because you talked about, there was some adversity there, right? There was a challenge in front of you where you were saying, hey, I had done 30 or so interviews. I had nothing. And that's a reality for
Right.
people. Because folks out there, and I've talked to a few college students or even some early career folks that think, oh, I go on 1 or 2 interviews, I'm going to get a job. And that's not always the case. So I love that you pushed through and you're like, I'm going to go, try to get into someone else's career fair. You didn't give up, right? And I think that says a lot about people that have drive. They're like, hey, it's gonna come, right? Eventually it'll come.
Exactly.
So you talked about banking and then you gave me a little snippet there about healthcare. So first tell me, from that job fair, getting that first offer, what did that feel like? After all that you had gone through, what did that feel like getting that offer from Wells Fargo?
I mean, for me, it was a huge weight that was taken off of my shoulders. I felt as if all of the work that I put in over the 4 years in college was actually starting to come to fruition, and the opportunities that I needed, and which was going to give me that, was coming now. So it was tough. I would say going through those first 2 to 3 months and holding down odd jobs until I got the actual job that I wanted. But that was part of the process. And quite frankly, if I didn't go through that process, it wouldn't have equipped me with the necessary tools to be successful when I got to the corporate structure,
Yeah.
especially being a first generation in corporate America.
Oh, wow. Okay, that's big. So you hit on something there. It sounds like you had to do some things that you wasn't necessarily wanting to do to get where you needed to be, right? And I mean,
Right.
that is something that's so telling because a lots of times, people think I'm going to go out here and I'm going to go straight to the job that I want. And sometimes you got to build up. You got to do some things. You might have to learn a couple skill sets that don't necessarily fall into what you want to do. So I love that you said that. And then also you said you come from a background where you're the first corporate, career person. So did you not have a lot of, experience or even mentors or just, anyone in your ear kind of giving you the lay of the land?
Well, and that's it. Like I was first generation from my family, but I did have a mentor
Okay.
who walked me through the path of, hey, I think this is going to be the best opportunity for you. And that's actually what led me into the healthcare landscape. And I think those mentors are really, really important in helping to guide you along the way too. I I know the biggest thing for me is having a mentor and a sponsor once I got into the corporate structure, but that mentor helped me along the way even till this day.
Mm-hmm. Tell them what's the difference. What's the difference between a mentor and a sponsor?
Yeah, well, I'm glad you asked because that's something that I actually talk to a lot of people that I mentor myself. So having a mentor is someone that's helping to guide you along the process, is someone that supports you, can actually give you healthy feedback, even when you're not doing the right things too, that can, I see it as a great coach. It is a coach. I mean, that mentor is a coach. And I think it's important to have 1 to 2 mentors in your corporate structure, as well as 1 to 2 mentors outside. They
Yeah.
have nothing to do with the company that you're with because they have a different view on what's happening. The sponsor is going to be someone that is actually speaking for you, sometimes unknowingly when you can't speak for yourself, right? So when there's projects that are coming up, there's new jobs that are coming up, there are someone that have seen you work on other projects and they know what you can do and they're giving you that opportunity without you actually knowing.
Yeah, yeah. I love that. And thank you for giving that. I always tell people that, I'm a coach, right? Sometimes I can play a mentor, sometimes I can play other roles. But it's also important to have sponsors. And,
Mhm.
coaches and mentors aren't always sponsors. And if you're not having anyone that can speak on your behalf when you're not present, right, you're definitely missing out on some opportunities. So yeah, thank you. Thank you for giving me that. So let's talk about this transition from Wells Fargo over into healthcare. When did you know you wanted to leave banking? When did you know you wanted to make that transition?
Oh man, I'm very outgoing, right? And so while I'm very outgoing, I'm actually really good with numbers, and that's the reason why I got into banking. But my mentor was actually in the healthcare space, and he just sat down with me one day that we were having dinner. He said, "Joe, I think it's time for you to transition. I know you're comfortable because you're starting to make a name for yourself in the banking world. You're starting to do really well. I know that you don't want to start over, but just trust me. If you start over, your trajectory will be a lot faster." Right. So I took that advice, and what he asked me to do was shadow someone that was really close to him that can give me the real feedback on what does the healthcare landscape look like? What do you need to know? And how can you continue to grow in your career? So I literally took 2 to 3 days to shadow and follow that person and say, okay, could I actually do this in my own life every single day? And could I see myself flourishing in it? And that kind of catapulted into me starting the interview process in the healthcare landscape. And lo and behold, some of the people that I was interacting with when I was going through those in and odd jobs before I got my first banking job was in the healthcare space.
Oh,
So now it shows when you're working hard and people see you trying to do the right thing, right? You have other people that can now speak for you on your behalf, in those interview processes. So that catapulted me to get into the healthcare space. And now, what, 18, 19 years later,
woo!
I've been an executive now in healthcare.
Wow, a real career in healthcare. Okay, so you know, I got to back it up a little bit because you touched on something that I
Yeah.
always coach people on, which is shadow days and how important that is. So, how I don't know how many times people will jump into something because it pays well or because it's in the right location, like, oh, I want to live in this city. So I took the job, but they had no idea like if they were going to like it or not. And so I highly encourage people to reach out and say, hey, can I spend a couple hours, a half a day, I don't know, something, so you have that insight. And it sounds like that's what kind of sealed the deal for you, even to make those correlations, like I could actually do this. So that's really cool. So anybody listening, please go out and do shadow days. I'm telling you, it'll give you a lot of insight. You can ask questions because you're not formally in an interview process at the time. So, you know, definitely take advantage of that for sure. So I love that transition, but you get into healthcare. So back me up 18, 19 years ago, you're getting into healthcare. What's like one thing that you know you learned right away that's like this, okay, what do I need to do? Maybe your mentor gave you something. So these are people that are fresh into the healthcare world. What's one thing they could be doing?
Oh man, and I laugh about it because it's been so long ago, but I still stay true to it today. Stay read up. You have to read and educate yourself on what's happening, what trends are happening, and continue to develop yourself. So one of the things that from people that I mentor myself, they always ask, "Hey Joe, how do I continue to extend my career where I'm at right now? How do I develop?" I say, no one's going to do anything for you, right? So don't feel as if you're owed anything, right? And it is your career is your responsibility, meaning you have to develop yourself. Find the things that is a gap in your organization and go develop yourself in that gap,
Yeah.
right? And so that's one of the main things that I learned really quick is, gosh, if I can learn a few of these, you know, particular skill sets and put that as part of my tool, it's going to help me in the long term be able to show what can I do to bring additional value to the organization. And so that's one of the things I kind of started with. Okay, I need to learn more about finance. I need to learn more about, just overall sales acumen. I need to learn about having difficult conversations, especially if I want to lead people. So all of those were some of the courses and learnings that I had over the first, I would say, 2 to 3 years that kind of, took off from there.
Yeah. Oh, wow. That's good. That is so good. And that could actually, cross over into multiple career fields, right? Not just in
Right.
healthcare, but definitely could cross over into multiple fields. So thank you for that. We're going to take a quick break, listen to some music, y'all. And we come back, we're going to jump right back into this conversation with Joe McNeil. We'll be right back. Welcome back. Welcome back to Life Transitions Radio Talk Show with your girl, Coach Latoya. This broadcast is being brought to you by Shop with Be Queen, an online boutique for fashion, beauty, and business. Boutique style products are limited to keep your style unique and one of a kind. Visit them at shopwithbequeen.com. And that is BEE. So shopwithbequeen.com. All right. So now we're going to get back into this conversation with Joe, and he's talking to us about his transitions from college, from that first job, right? And those hurdles of getting those interviews and finally landing that job offer. And then also great to hear from you about how you landed in this healthcare business as well, right? And those early learnings of what it took to really, kind of set yourself up for success. So as you're climbing this corporate ladder, Joe, tell me about some of the, because it sounds good. You got 18 years in the game. So it sounds good. It sounds like, yes. I mean, this is all, peaches and, strawberries for you. You don't have no issues. Tell us, how was it? Any challenges, any adversity you faced?
Yeah, so I mean, and I laugh because as you're saying that, in anyone that knows, as you're ascending and you're going up the corporate ladder, you're going to have a ton of challenges. You're going to have peers that sometime may become, I would say, envious of your early successes. And you may have your own small pitfalls. So for me, and I'll say this, and it's really important. This is why it's so important to have mentors. Being a first generation in my family to be in the corporate structure, I made some early mistakes too, right? And some of those mistakes I make over twice, which helps me. And I think that's part of my athletic background, being coached throughout my entire life. Like, you show up, if you're 15 minutes early, you're on time. If you're on time, you're late. So it's like keeping that same type of mentality there. But one of the things that I had to learn is that, especially someone that has so many different ideas, and young people, I'm so jealous and envious of you because you have so many great ideas, right?
Creative, yeah.
I became frustrated that I would pitch ideas and I would get a no in the idea, but then I would see it later on,
Ooh.
maybe a year, 2, 3 years
Ooh.
later, right?
Ooh. Mm.
And what I had to learn is you have to pitch your ideas to the right audience, right? And so sometimes your ideas are great, but it's not landing on the right person's ears,
Yep.
right? And so that's one of the first learnings that I had, is really understanding, okay, what is the audience? Who am I talking to? Who is actually the leader in this room? And what my questions, in which the questions I wasn't asking was, if it's a no today, why? And how can I make this project better? Right. And so I would take the no and go back and figure out, but I wouldn't ask the why. So along the way, I would be guessing, well, why don't they like it? What I should have just asked. Yep. Right. But so now I ask. I mean, it's right up front. There's no personal, there's no personal vendetta. They're not upset with me. I'm just asking the question. Okay, so tell me, why doesn't it work today? Okay, so it's not a today problem. It's, we're not ready to grow in that structure, and it's no one's upset. So I think that's one of the first things that I learned. The second thing is just making sure that when you are ascending, that you're bringing someone along the way with you. The fastest way for you to get your first or next promotion is that you have someone waiting for you in your seat. And you know why that's so important is because you've already developed them yourself. So now you actually have someone that's in your corner while you're ascending as well.
Wow. Wow. That's good. You hit on a lot there for sure. I do want to go back to the point that you said about not taking it personal. And that one is hard for some people, because think about it. When you come up with these ideas, like you've really thought through it. You've thought through all, like you probably put together a full presentation. You've thought through all of the potential questions that you might get about it. So it wasn't like a light duty to do this. And then for you to get shut down, it's so important that you didn't take it personal, right? And it's so important that you finally figured out, okay, I got to make sure I'm presenting this to the right audience. So I think this, like I said, I think this could cascade across, several jobs, several positions, just in life in general too, right? I mean, just thinking about when you do something for family or friends or whatever, it doesn't land right? You like, I put in all this effort, right? And it's like, you didn't appreciate
exactly.
it. But, maybe that's not what they were expecting. That's not what they wanted. So I love that you said, now I just ask. Now there's no question about it. I'm just asking. And isn't that so crazy that you're just like, your curiosity would actually solve or answer some of those questions for you. So now you know how to move next, right? So you
and the thing that I love about that too is that's why it's important to have a mentor, because my mentor is the first thing he said was, don't take that personal. You don't understand the meetings that are happening internally that I see, right? In those meetings, and it's not a you problem, we're not ready to grow there yet, right? And so I was able to really digest that. And if I didn't have that mentor, maybe I would have become very frustrated.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. That's awesome. It sounds like you have a good mentor. So I definitely encourage people, if you don't have a mentor, you don't have a coach, you don't have anybody in your corner, definitely, get someone that could give you sound advice, that you could be very transparent with, and be able to show your true self so they can really be able to assist you. So I absolutely love that. So tell us now, you're 18 years in, any advice? I mean, you're a trooper at this point. Like, any advice, even folks that are early into healthcare, any advice for them?
Yeah, I would say, and this isn't just for healthcare, but it's the grass isn't always greener on the other side. So, and it also doesn't mean that where you are is where you should be and where you should take things to. My point is do your own investigation. Be very curious into what is going to be the best career for you, that you don't feel as if you're going to work every single day.
Yeah.
Right. And it may not be where you are today. And so you may be in your job, because I can remember being in my job on year 3 or 4 and I was frustrated. Right. And I was like, man, I need to do something else. I do not like this. This is not the career path I want to go on. I am bored. I don't feel like this is feeding my drive right now.
Yeah.
But it's also, I need to be patient, right? I need to have a sense of patience, but then I also need to be urgent in my investigation in what I want to do, right? So again, it kind of goes back to what I said. No one owes you anything. You have to take your own career in your own hands. So doing that investigation up front, I've been recruited by so many different companies, right? But I've stayed with the same company for this year 17 years. And so part of that is growing within my organization and taking on different roles. I've had the privilege of holding, 7 different leadership hats over the last, 12 years.
Wow.
And that doesn't come by sitting on your hands and waiting for someone to give you something. It's you seeking out what's going to be the best opportunity for you to imprint your own stamp into an organization.
Yeah, no, that's good. That's good for sure, because sometimes we feel like we're just gonna focus and just do our job, and we're just gonna do it good, and somebody's gonna tap me on the shoulder. Somebody's gonna say, oh, Latoya, I want you to do that. And I tell people all the time, you got to advocate for yourself. If no one knows what you want to do, no one knows you're interested in that, they're just thinking you're just good and content with what you're doing, because you're just like, I'm just gonna focus on this, right? But I do tell people, you need to be an expert in your current job before you start trying to do something else, right? However, be vocal about what that is, where you want to go, what experiences you'd like to, have, or what new skills you want to gain. Because no one's just gonna be like, oh, I just want to give you this promotion. Like you're gonna have to, fight for it for sure. So, all right, sounds good. So tell me, where did, you're an entrepreneur now, so you've still got this corporate job, but you dibbled and dabbled a little bit in this entrepreneurship space, right? Well, not dibble dabble. I mean, you in
Right,
it full speed now, right? So
right.
tell us, how did this come about? Like, where were you in your career where you were like, okay, I want to do this?
Yeah, so I mean, and this is what gives you that experience is having confidence throughout your career. And we were, I would say, in the middle of the pandemic in 2020, and I had already decided that I was going to take a learning course. Again, I'm always trying to learn something. I was taking a learning course on how to build a sneaker from the ground up.
Yeah.
And throughout that course, I realized there is a true gap in quality and consistency in sneakers. I've always been someone who loves sneakers, right? And I believe that no matter where people come from, all different walks of life, sneakers is a thing now where
Yeah.
people really give their unique style through sneakers, right? I've met CEOs who will have on a full suit and sneakers are completely different, right?
Yeah.
And that is their own sense of style. So it shows you like people are really into the sneaker culture. And so for me, I was like, you know what? If this is an opportunity that I can gauge in, I love sneakers. I have always been a collector as well as someone that would resell here and there, but I had a little bit more time on my hands where I wasn't traveling. I wasn't living in at an airport every single week
Yeah.
because we were stuck at home.
Yeah.
So that started my curiosity in, first of all, can I build a sneaker? Can I identify like the gap in the opportunities to have good margins? Could I identify manufacturers that would take me serious and want to work with me? I'm not a big, organization. This is all coming out of my own pocket.
Mhm.
And how do I engage into the market where it's cool not only for the older generation but also young kids, right? How do we make it cool? And that's having limited pairs of sneakers. So that's kind of where Collection Plate was born. And if anyone is from the rural South, you know that if you hear Collection Plate, it comes on your ears like, all right, we're in church, we're all
Yeah.
putting money together for a common cause, we're doing something. That is kind of the play on the words, right? Like it is a group of people that are putting money, time, effort together for a common cause. That's part of it. The other part is one of the things that's unique about Collection Plate is that we're creating different capsules or different collections of sneakers and apparel, but more so sneakers along the way. So it's a, kind of double entendre on what we're, really made for. But it's been a beautiful journey. It's been one of a lot of learnings. We haven't made all the right, decisions, but man, has it grown really fast over the last, I would say, even year.
Yeah. So I love that you explained the name, because as soon as I thought about it, I was like, Collection Plate, like it's tithes and offering time. It's time to, it's time to pay your tithes
Yep.
and offering, huh? Okay. But I
Right.
love that, right? Because you're talking about collection of people coming together. So absolutely cool there. And so what I love about what you said is that there was a time, right? 2020 was crazy for everybody. But I love that you said, I got time on my hands. I can learn something, right? So you wasn't eating all the Krispy Kreme donuts and just getting all the good, adding them that COVID weight on. You was over here taking
Exactly.
classes and trying to, figure out if this is something you can do. So I love that you maximize that, right? And was able to come up with and birth this brand here. So tell us about some of these early challenges with Collection Plate.
Yeah, so my business partner and I, we really we're trying to maximize the quality. And what we identified is in the only way you're going to know what type of quality sneaker you have is if you put two different types of sneakers on together. And we had to wear test and cut sneakers up to figure out if it's synthetic leather or if it's real leather that you actually have. And I would say 9 times out of 10, the brands that you know typically have synthetic leather, and it's a reason why your feet hurt after wearing them for an hour or 2 hours. Your feet hurt. Well, it's a reason, right? Leather, real leather, and real quality materials are made to move with your foot, are made to mold with your foot. So the more you wear it, the more rain gets on it or you sweat, it molds to your foot and it's a comfortable wear.
So
We
hold
didn't know
on,
that.
wait a minute now. So you telling me these shoes that I done paid this, $100 or $200 for, my feet start hurting. You telling me that it's not real leather?
Not all the time. Sometimes it is, depending on it. It depends on when that sneaker came out and where it's being made. Sometimes that sneaker could be $10 that it cost them to make, maybe
Wow.
a lot less, and you just paid 300 for it. I mean,
Wow.
and that's the one thing that we wanted to pride ourselves on. Is like it's not just about making money.
Yeah.
We wanted to, especially with my business partner and I, we wanted that nostalgic feel of going to, and I know everyone knows this, you would go to a Foot Locker and you would wait for hours for the next Jordans to come out. Well, during that time, you would meet a lot of people that's waiting in line too, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so that's our feel of building our community is we bring people from all walks of life through a common interest of sneakers.
Mm-hmm.
And so at some point, we want exactly what we're doing here is to have those organic conversations with CEOs and directors and people that are in the corporate structure that can help mentor people too. So it's not just starting here, it's kind of leading down that road too. And so we were just saying, you know what, we want to make quality materials. We want to make sure that people have a very good wear. And I would say the sneaker that we have today, typically, if you were to buy it, would be a $300 sneaker.
Wow.
For sure at any retail store, but we don't have those at our prices because we've done all the work, the front load work to make sure you have really great quality products.
Nice. I love it. I love that this is not just about, you know, creating another sneaker on the market, right? I love that there's so much thought that went behind creating this brand about bringing people together, right? And then also educating people because I know a lot of sneakerheads. I mean, they've got hundreds of sneakers in their closet, right? And I don't know if they even know, some of the background that you just gave on how it's made, how much is that markup, right? With some of these brands and that sort of thing. So I love it. I love it. So we gotta take a quick break. And when we come back, we'll wrap this up. But yeah, we'll be right back. Welcome back. Thank you. This is Life Transitions Radio Talk Show with your girl, Coach Latoya. This broadcast is being brought to you by Trinity's Day Spa, Pampering for Kids, a kid-friendly spa servicing kids from 4 to 15 years old, offering manis and petties, edible chocolate facials, glam makeup, and hair fairies, most known for their fabulous birthday parties. So you can contact them at trinitiesdayspa.com. They have several locations across Florida and South Carolina. All right, Joe. So we learned about this collection plate brand. Please tell us a little more. How can they find you? What can they do to support the collection plate brand?
Yeah, so we're on all of your socials from Instagram, TikTok, YouTube. It is under Collection Plate Brand, all one word, Collection Plate Brand. You can also find us at www.collectionplatebrand.com, where we have unique sneakers and apparel. What I will say is one of the biggest things you can do is sign up for our newsletter. Right now, we typically have capsules which I say of each colorway, anywhere between 200 to 400 pairs. So when they sell out, they're gone. We're never producing those again. And the reason why that's really important is there's a lot of replicas out there. So your sneaker is going to be a unique piece that's part of your collection of sneakers. But yeah, definitely check us out. If you're part of the newsletter, typically you'll be the first ones that find out for the next colorway or the next capsule that we're launching, and you'll have first dibs on being able to order your own personal pair. And again, we're minority owned. We appreciate all of the support. Again, check us out, collectionplatebrand.com. Sign up for the newsletter, and that's about it.
Okay. You got to tell me about this Love and Hip Hop sneaker, though. This one looks cool. What's the
Yeah, so if everyone knows, last year was the 50-year anniversary of hip hop, and this is our homage to our love to hip hop. We know that hip hop really changes the structure of what we wear today, even down to sneakers, right? It has a huge influence. So this was our homage to the 50 years of hip hop. And so if you see the cracked leather that's on the side, that is an image of cracked and brick walls where graffiti artists write on. Okay, then we have the patent leather that's on the front. That is for the respect to all the DJs that are out there supporting all of the artists. And then the red is for the blood, sweat, and tears that went into hip hop over the years of 50 years. And then you have the aged sole, that's the aged midsole that shows the age of hip hop, 50 years old. So it is one of our, I would say, one of our best known sneakers that's selling, that's hot today. Obviously, you can see a few of those sizes are already sold out. I know from a few sales that we're probably have limited pairs in 14s and 13s right now, but we've gifted these to a few artists across the nation. I know that Young Jock was one of the artists that we gifted. He's probably one of the first that we gifted this sneaker when we were in Atlanta for an event. So it's a dope sneaker. We love it.
Nice. Thank you so much. I saw that when I was like, okay, this was kind of cool. So thank you so much. So if anybody's out there, please go to collectionplatebrand.com, check out the sneakers, join the newsletter so you can hear all about it. So Joe, before we wrap up, let me address kind of the elephant in the room, right? You are still working this corporate job and you have successfully launched this sneaker brand, right? Tell me, can people do both, right? Is it possible?
It is very possible to do both. What I will say is to make sure that there is not a conflict of interest in what you're doing each and every day in your corporate structure. So, obviously I'm in the healthcare space, so that has no conflict when it comes to the sneaker industry. But just make sure that you get a little bit of guidance with your mentor. I would even say get and seek legal advice just as much as I did, especially if you are in a very high role. You want to make sure that you seek legal advice to where you're not setting yourself up to where you can't do both. And again, make sure that you have people in your corner that are entrepreneurs that can help you with the quick pitfalls immediately. Because even as I believe I'm a smart individual, I made a ton of mistakes along with my business partner. He's a very smart individual. We made mistakes along the way that could have helped us have better margins and do better as a business, but that's part of learning. So just make sure that you set time aside to know that it is not a conflict of interest. You're not setting yourself up to where you won't have your corporate job, but it is very possible. You just have to have that grit, that energy to work late nights, weekends, even when you have a family.
Yeah. Nice. Thank you for sharing that. Because sometimes people think they have to pick, right? Sometimes they feel like, oh, I gotta, launch here or go there. And so I always tell people, you got to do what's right for you. And sometimes that means you got to do both. And it's possible to do both. So appreciate that. Any advice to young Black boys in college, even high school, as they're thinking about careers, as they're thinking about entrepreneurship, anything that you would tell them as, thinking back to when you were kind of coming up and trying to figure this thing out?
Yeah, I would say continue to push through, especially when you are starting to hit a wall. I can tell you there were a few nights that I asked myself, why am I not getting jobs when I'm doing everything that I'm supposed to do to support the name on my back, that my family gave me to do everything right. Why am I not getting a job? It is part of the process. Just know that what you're going through right now is going to help you have that grit later on, that's going to help you push through and get the career and the jobs that you want. Whereas in others that got the job really easy, they're not going to have that same passion and push to get the next jobs for promotion. So keep pushing through. Please find a mentor that is going to give you sound advice and that's going to give you constructive feedback that you have an open ear to listen to.
Yeah, no, that's good. That is good. So anybody out there that, looking to do these things, looking to, even looking to just go into entrepreneurship right away. So I have a lot, like you said, these young folks are so creative and they, have all these bright ideas. And sometimes they kind of want to bypass, the working world, which is fine. They don't want to get that W-2. They want to go straight in. But a lot of times they don't understand some of the challenges and adversities that they may face. But keep going, keep going. I work with lots of college students or just young people that, they have the drive, they have the creativity, they have all of those things. So thank you for sharing that with them. So thank you for joining me. Thank you for coming on the show. Thank you for letting me kind of get some more details about all of the things that you went through from a transition standpoint, getting to where you are, birthing this collection plate brand and all of the details behind it. Definitely appreciate you so much. So listeners, if you're listening right now, please go check out collectionplatebrand.com. Make sure you join that newsletter as well. Make a purchase, get you some new kicks. They're gonna be comfortable, y'all. They're gonna be real comfortable. So definitely do that and support. So thank you, Joe, for joining us. Definitely appreciate having you today.
Thank you. Thank you for having me on.
Absolutely. So listeners, listen, it's Saturday. I hope you have some great plans for the weekend. I hope it's nice weather wherever you are. We're headed into the spring. So thank you all for tuning in today. Now, don't forget, coming up, the Transition Coach app will be dropping May 1st. Okay, so we have 3 segments. One is going to be all about interviewing. It's going to have all kinds of stuff on there. How do you prepare for an interview? All of that good stuff. The other portion of that is going to be just about life transitions, kind of what we've been talking about today, just different transitions in life, things you could use to help get through those transitions. And then the last part will be any one-on-one coaching that you might need just to get through something. So super excited that the app's going to drop May 1st. So I'll keep reminding you, but just wanted to let you know, look out for it. Again, I am Coach Latoya. Thank you for joining me today. We are here on WDRB Media. You can find us on Apple Music and TuneIn Radio. Also, WDRDmedia.com. And click on the Listen Live logo, and you'll be able to listen live there as well. So thanks again, and we'll see you next week.